Good morning, all of you. So today our topic is about object diagrams. Okay. So just now we have discussed about what is an object and what are the different types of objects. Okay. As object is instance of a class, and the types of the objects we learnt about: named object, anonymous object, multi-object, and orphan objects. So we were aware of all this terminology. Okay. With this, so let's see what are the diagrams here. So many times I was discussing about what is a diagram. A diagram is also called as a model in UML. Okay, so it is the visual representation. So the general definition of a diagram is nothing but connected graph with vertices and arcs. But when we are saying about object diagram, so what does that mean? It's a connected graph where the vertices are objects and the arcs are nothing but our relationships. Okay, so this is some general example of a particular class. So the same example we have studied for class diagram, but if within the class diagram, classes won't be interacting with one another in the interaction process. Okay, where exactly when execution or during runtime, so objects won't come into picture, but their instances only will communicate. So for that, what exactly we are doing? We are drawing an object diagram. So in object diagram, what we are saying, class. So if you see the company, so if you just give company, it will be a class. And but when you want to give the instance of that company, and it is a named instance, so C is the instance of a company class and it should be underlined. So this is one object, and whereas the company have many departments, so here department D1 is the instance of department sales, and D2 is the instance of department R&D, research and development. D3 is the instance of department US sales, and P is the instance of person, and that person name is clearly given here. Okay, and this contact information of whom exactly it's not given. Okay, so if a person instance is connected, so that means the person details will be becoming the contact information. Okay, so that's how the instances of classes we consider first, and then the connection or the relationship between the objects, we call it as a link. If you remember, in class diagram, if company is a class and department is a class, the relation we might have given as association, but their instances, classes instances C and D1, if they are the instances, and instances connection is given by link, so in that scenario we can say association instance is link. I hope did you understand this, all of you? Why we are saying link as an instance of association? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, understood.
Okay, so this is how we are going to connect the different classes. See, it's not, this is only the visual cue, but what project we are doing, when they are executing, what exactly each one, how they are interacting, so all that we are prior we build the system itself, we are able to analyze what exactly it's happening inside and all. That is what UML modeling, and each diagram is called a model. Okay, so this is about the object diagram. So as every chapter have two parts to be discussed, but whereas every diagram chapter will have three parts, please remember that. First two parts are same as every chapter, as terms and concepts and common modeling techniques. So these are the two ones for every chapter. But whereas any diagram chapter, if it is object diagram, class diagram, or sequence diagram, collaboration diagram, any diagram, so we learned 9 diagrams, right? Each diagram is again a chapter. So any diagram chapter will have 3 parts to be explained. First, terminology, common modeling techniques, and the last one will be forward and reverse engineering. Okay. And then coming to the first part of the chapter, that is about terms and concepts, terminology, and what are the concepts which are related to object diagrams. So we have learnt about the definition, what is a diagram and what is an object diagram. So we'll move into the details of the terminology and their concepts. So first one, so under terminology and concepts also I told you. What are the subheadings we have under any diagrams chapter? On the first part, we'll have common properties, contents and common uses. And whatever the common uses we have, they are the ones can be same as the second part, that is common modeling techniques. So remember this subheadings. If you remember the content, you based on what concept you are talking, so accordingly you can write. So then common properties. So object diagram is a special kind of diagram. Any diagram will be a special kind of diagram. Why? Because it has its own properties. It has its own properties. As diagrams we have discussed as static diagrams and dynamic diagrams. Why that particular diagram come under static? Why that particular diagram comes under dynamic? So all that we have learnt already. So keeping that knowledge in mind, we can say that it is a special kind of diagram when compared to other diagrams. And also how exactly it is differentiated, distinguished, different from other diagrams is by seeing its content. By seeing its content. Content means what I say, whenever I see the object diagram. So the content means what exactly this diagram is having. So what exactly the main parts of these diagrams? So graph is vertices and edges. So our vertices are here objects and our edges are nothing but links. So that is the content of this object diagram. Seeing the content, it can be distinguished from the other diagrams. Yes or no? See, this diagram, when specifically only objects and links are there, can any of the other diagrams will have objects and links? Yes, maybe you may have in sequence diagram or in collaboration but diagram, but their representations are different. If it is sequence, they give time ordering. If it is collaboration, they give interaction messages, numbers that it will be given. So somehow it will be distinguished. Okay. So based on its content. So the second terminology is about contents. So just now we have seen what are the different parts or the contents. What exactly these object diagrams are having is nothing but objects and their links. And if we need some nodes and some constraints also, we can give. So nodes means, so some comment about some object, if at all you want to give, you can give. And constraint is some condition by giving some state. So one object is in which state at that particular point of time. Okay. So that is about the contents. So moving on to the third one under first part, that is about common uses. So here, as we have studied about static design view or dynamic design view, we have learned. So static means something like names and all. So static means, so here about name. So when it exactly it is created until it's destroyed, so its name won't be changed. So such things we can say it as static. Whereas dynamic, maybe its value may change. Value means its form may change. Maybe initially the state of that object will be idle. Later it will be into the running state. Later it will be in the execution state. Later it will be in the deployment state. So like that its value may change before it is destroyed. So that we capture in dynamic view. Okay. So here by doing this, what exactly these things are primarily supporting? It is nothing but the functional requirements of the system. So it's supporting the functional requirements of the system. And these services the system should provide to its end users. What exactly it can do for the end users. So those things can be seen under common uses. So let's see the first one what we have. So while you are doing static design view of the system, so this diagrams may use for to model object structure. So the structure of an object can be built. Okay, so that is the only one common use we have. So that is the third subheading under first part. But as I told you, the second part of diagrams chapter will be common modeling techniques. And under common modeling techniques, whatever the use we studied, the same thing will be repeated here. But here we just say what is the use of it. But here under common modeling techniques, that subheading will be explaining using an example. Okay, all the terminology from the first part of the chapter, whatever the terminology and concepts we have learned. So the application of those things to some example we'll be studying under common modeling techniques. So now second part is about common modeling techniques. Under that we have only one, that is modeling object structure. So let's see the example of this. So before we see how to model the object structure, so here first we need to identify few things. So a mechanism represents some functional behavior or part of the system you are modeling. Okay, so here what exactly that system is having, what is its behavior, what exactly it is doing, what are the classes, interfaces. So those things need to be first identified. And after identifying each mechanism, what exactly each one is doing. Okay, so and for doing that mechanism, what are the things which are related there, either classes, interfaces or any other elements, and identifying the relationships among them. So all that have need to be done. So once you identify one scenario, so that have to be fixed, freeze. So freezing means fixing on some scenario, and based on that scenario at that point of time what exactly that object is doing, and render each object that participates in that mechanism in that scenario at that point of time. Only one scenario we are considering, and what one particular point of time what exactly the object is participating and what are its details of that particular object will be seeing. And we have to give the state attributes of each object under that particular scenario. And not only that, we also should give the links. Links means nothing but our relationships, the connections, whatever are there among the objects. So with this knowledge of how to model an object structure, so let's see an example here. Set of objects drawn from the implementation of an autonomous robot. So for this, I think class diagram we have seen for the same example where we have robo, okay, and we had some sensors and motors are steering motor, main motor, if you remember that example. Okay, so if you are talking about the instance of the same example here, so then what exactly we are talking about, the scenario we have here taken about on the robo object. Okay, so and what is the state of that particular robo, so that we can give it as a constraint saying that moving. So the object is moving, so where it is moving, in some space, so that is W instance world. Okay, so here the instance object is unassigned, which can be globally given. So wherever it is placed, it has to move. Okay, so and it can be moved on multiple kind of objects. So that is not assigned. So it's just said in general. So that is about global and which is not assigned for multi objects. Say maybe in particular scenario when we are saying, so in particular area only when a robo is placed, how exactly how exactly the object model can be structured. So then that's what we are seeing here. So with this instance, so the moving of robo can be done for area instance A1 or area instance A2. Okay, maybe it may move towards left or right. Say A1 is left and A2 is right, or front and back. So anything. So when we say A2 instance, so A2 instance is again connected to different things. So it may be a wall W1, what is the width of it, and A2 instance is connected to W2, which is a wall width of it, and A2 can be connected to the instance door, that is D8 instance with 36, and A2 with a wall W3 instance width as 96. So whenever a robo is moving in some particular space, so it may encounter any of these areas. If say suppose A1 is maybe say some open place, but whereas A2 is a closed one. So when it is closed, you may have left, right, front and back. So likewise they are talking about W1, W2, W3 walls, and the one side of the wall it is the door. Okay, so that is how they are talking about the implementation of this autonomous robo. And when we are talking about the object structure at that particular point of time, that object exactly what is it is doing. Okay, so here we are taking R instance in the place, in the scope of that R instance is W instance, and that W instances, it is connected to A1 and A2 areas. Okay, when it is A2, it is maybe a closed area where what are the things connected to that it is related, and A1 maybe which can be taken as a open space. Okay, so this is how we should be able to analyze what exactly at one particular point of time of a particular object can be structured. So that is what about the object diagrams. So then moving on to the next one, third part of this chapter is about forward and reverse engineering. So many times I was telling you about, so this is the concept which is important in modeling papers. Okay, UML is important for this forward and reverse engineering only. If you remember, I was telling you about this in the introduction of this subject itself before we have started the things. So I was telling you about this. So what is the main purpose of UML language? Anyone? Main purpose of UML language?
Grammatical representations.
That is okay. That is what we call, it is a model, creating models. So from model, what exactly you get? You can do forward engineering. Forward engineering means whatever the diagram you are drawing, for that drawing the diagram, we have some tools. Okay, after you draw the diagram using that tool, so that diagram can be mapped. Whatever diagram you are drawing, that can be mapped for coding. So from a model you can generate code, all the abstract code you can generate. Okay, that is what actually the analysis phase in the industries will happen. Okay, so here our topic is about forward and reverse engineering. When I say forward engineering, whatever the diagram we are drawing, it is called as a model. From that model, if you are able to get code, then it is called forward engineering. The creation of code from a model, or mapping of a model into code, is forward engineering. But how exactly we can do forward engineering for a particular object? See, theoretically it may be easy, but here when we are seeing about forward engineering for a object diagram means theoretically it is possible, but programmatically we have limited value. Why, tell me? Because in object-oriented systems, instances are the things that are created and destroyed by the application during runtime only. Okay, and whatever exactly during runtime within the system what it's happening, we cannot capture from outside. Okay, so that's why it's theoretically we can say, but practically it is limited, and to some extent we can say it's not possible to retrieve. But with the knowledge of the things what we have, we are drawing the models. And whereas moving on to reverse engineering. So reverse engineering is nothing but whatever we have done in the forward engineering. So the reverse of forward engineering is nothing but reverse engineering. So here what we have done, from model to code we did. But whereas here from code to model. Say suppose if you have any coding already, so that coding you want to change into other code, then in that case what we have to do, we have to change that code into a model, and from model into whatever code you want to do, that can be converted. Okay, so that is what about reverse engineering. So in doing reverse engineering, so where exactly we come across reverse engineering? When we are doing programming in your systems, it is nothing but debugging. So debugging means you might be executing some code. Okay, you had some errors. So again you are rectifying the errors and seeing that you get the output for that particular program. Okay, so the process of checking for all the inputs, is it working, and if any error, any fault is coming or any errors are coming, again correcting them, it is the process of debugging the system. Okay, so this process of debugging the system is nothing but it will be a debugging process. It is involved in reverse engineering. Okay, so here in order to reverse engineer an object diagram, first we need to choose a target what you want to reverse engineer. So first thing you have to remember, reverse engineering means from code to model. So target what you want to reverse engineer means some block of code what exactly you want to get the model of it, that you have to select. Maybe many of the times it will be an operation, okay, or some block of code or some function what you want to reverse engineer. So when a particular operation when you want to reverse engineer, so what exactly we do, that operation belongs to which class and that class attributes and all. So that's how we represent in our UML diagram, which is called as a model. So using a tool or simply walk through the scenario, stop execution at certain point of time. Okay, so wherever you are executing at that particular point of time, so that operation, what is its code? And in order to do this forward engineering or reverse engineering, we have tools. So that's what I was telling you. So to draw the diagrams, maybe whatever is free online, we are using a Star UML. That is a tool for drawing UML diagrams. So similarly, if the license versions, we have like Rational Rose 2. Okay, what exactly these tools do? Not only just drawing the diagrams what we have analyzed. So that diagrams can be forward engineered and also reverse engineered. Forward engineer means from the model what you have developed, you can generate the abstract code of that complete diagram. That is forward engineering. Reverse engineering means maybe you have already done with Java code. So you have some block of code for Java. So from that block of code, how you can get a model? So that is what reverse engineering. So everything for doing all this, the tool will give you options how to do and all. Okay. So once the college begins, or if at all next time when I go to college, I'll get try to get that software and I'll show you in the system. Okay. In the my next practical, maybe now as I am at home, so I didn't ask that software from the college. If it is, if I can get it, then I'll show you those things. If not, once the offline classes begin, then I can show you. Okay, so here using some tool, we can abstract the scenarios what exactly it's happening, and from that code we can generate the models. And as necessary, understand their semantics, expose their object states. So whether that object is conveying its static state or dynamic state. So based on that, we can write. Okay. And these are the basics what we have learnt already in our terminology. Okay. And if your diagram ends up overly complicated, so what exactly we need to do? We have to prune it, eliminating objects that are not, which are not with respect to that scenario. And finally, we need to make it a simple diagram so that you can generate the model. Okay. And you can use in the process of either in forward engineering or reverse engineering. So these are the topics I wanted to cover today's class. So that is about object diagrams.